Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Kamish Orr, and today I thought we'd take a look at another topic, one that actually is related to the last topic I talked about. The last topic being the planning and prepping versus playing question, and you can check out that video if you want to hear more. But something that came up in some of the comments was actually finishing projects and that kind of thing. So I thought I would just discuss that for a few minutes, tell you my thoughts, and of course solicit your feedback or your love to hear your thoughts on this topic as well down in the comments if you'd like. And I guess from my point of view, in terms of finishing projects, I do enjoy playing through projects, of course, but part of that is getting to the end, I guess. And if you're doing either a season replay, that could be finishing the season, or in my case, if there's going to be some kind of playoffs or something involved, getting to the playoffs, finding which team in the project comes out on top, that kind of thing, is always interesting to find out. So it's not. I know that some of that question is the journey more fun than the destination, but at the end of the day, I think the reason I'm playing or doing projects is to see what the end result is. Like, what are the stats for one? Which team came out on top? That kind of thing. So finishing a project is something I'm very, I'm very interested in doing when I start any project. So I guess the first question is, how do you keep motivation? How do you keep motivation to keep going? And along those similar lines, how many projects do you have going on at one time? For me, what I've found is I really only want to focus on maybe one project at a time, maybe two, because I feel like the more projects you have going on at the same time, the longer it takes to finish any project in particular. I guess the pros are that you can, if you kind of lose interest or lose steam in one project, you can kind of switch off to another project for a while and then come back to it when the bug strikes you again, or where you get more interested. So that is a pro, obviously. Whereas if you're just focused on one project, you're kind of locked into that until you finish, unless you want to start a new one. And maybe that's where some of the planning and prepping comes along. Is you plan and prep for a while and start a project, then you kind of get burned out or less interested. So you before you even can begin a project, or maybe very shortly after you begin a project, you start planning and prepping something else. But I've found just focusing on one project to be my interest. I don't know. How many projects do you guys have going on at one time, and how long do they take you to complete? I'd be curious to know, like, I'm sure this is true. Some of you have projects that have been going on for years. And I guess what keeps you motivated, or what keeps you going on those projects? So one question is, how many projects do you have going on at one time? And the second question is, how do you keep motivated in the projects that you do have? So let me answer that question for myself. In terms of, I've kind of answered the how many projects I have going on at once, but in terms of how I stay motivated, I find that if I like kind of keep a schedule, almost not a set schedule, obviously. I'm not going to like say, okay, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever, I'm going to do this, set aside time. But I think just building the habit of playing, so that it becomes part of your normal day-to-day routine, that tends to work better, because then it's kind of already built into your schedule, if that makes sense, your personal schedule, your personal life schedule. And it's harder for other things to, if you build that routine, it's harder for other things to kind of get in the way of that. If you don't build a routine and you're only playing when the mood strikes or whatever, then it's easy for it to get set aside when other things come up, and to kind of be put on the back burner and not really focused on. And that just, for me at least, drags it out longer. So I like to be on like a set routine. Now, the Payoff Pitch League that I just finished took me a little over a year to finish, and that was a third of a season. So 54 games, and it was 8 teams, and I played out every game. And that one, my schedule was I was going to play 1 day's worth of games every real week, which was 4 games. So my plan was always I was going to play 4 games, at least 4 games every week of real time. And I'd only play 1 game a day usually. So that gave me some flexibility in terms of what day I was playing, and also gave some days off and stuff in there so that I didn't feel obligated to like it was a job or a chore, like, oh gosh, I have to play again. Kind of funny to talk about a hobby in this way because generally a hobby is supposed to be something you enjoy doing in your leisure, and so not something you think of like a chore or work or that kind of thing. But and I guess in my case maybe it's a little different because I was posting about the league, so I had extra motivation to keep going with it. I guess not just personal motivation, but that extra motivation that other people were kind of paying attention to it too. But for me, just kind of getting in that routine really helps because then, it was something that I could just didn't really have to think about. It's something I knew I was just going to do, and kind of build up that habit, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what's helped me kind of finish something. So, that project took me a little over a year to complete. I'm still in the planning and prepping phase of the second project that I'm going to be doing, History Maker Baseball. The other payoff pitch, I'm going to do a payoff pitch project also. So maybe 2 projects going on at once. But I think I may wait until the end of this real baseball season because based on retirements and stuff, that could affect some of the rosters. And so I may wait a little bit for that to happen before I start something else, just so that I'm not changing rosters mid-season and that kind of thing. So at least for the time being, it'll be History Maker Baseball that I'll be playing. And this league should only take me half the time, maybe 6 or 7 months, I think, to finish if my planning is right and if I play at the same pace that I was playing the payoff pitch. And I guess part of it, in order to do that, is how long the game takes to play. But yeah, how do you keep motivation? Do you just treat it as a normal hobby in the sense that you play it when you feel like it, you don't play it when you don't feel like it, you don't really think too much about it, you don't really plan on it, and so if it takes you years, so be it. Or is there the extra motivation of finishing there that's leading you on to be more focused on it, I guess, is the question. Couple of I guess conversation points. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, please, on how you approach projects, how many projects you have going on, and how important it is to finish the projects to you, or whether it's strictly a hobby and not something you really worry about. It's strictly a hobby in the sense that you don't really worry too much about whether you finish it or not, because it's a personal project for you and it's only for your benefit anyway. So if you don't finish, it's like not that big of a deal. What's the motivation for you to get to the end, if any? So, a couple of questions there for you. Love to hear your thoughts on that. And then I guess another question would be, what are the favorite projects that you've done over the years? Do you have a personal favorite that you always think about? How many projects have you completed? But yeah, what are your favorites? Is there something that really stood out to you, and what made it a favorite of yours, I guess, as opposed to other projects that you may have done? Or were there projects that you really didn't like and you just stopped doing because the idea sounded good, and as you began to play through it, you kind of lost interest and stopped doing it for whatever reason. So what usually ends things? Is it real life that gets in the way, or is it just certain projects that just don't interest you anymore? Yeah. So, or is it a new games coming out? So that can be another motivator, I guess, is if you play a certain tabletop game, or you are playing a certain maybe out of the park or whatever, and then either a new version comes out or a new season's released. Maybe that encourages you to get things going again, or redo a project with the new new cards or new players, that kind of thing. I don't know. So I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Hopefully it's giving you some thought, something to think about. Again, I think this is something a lot of us think about anyway, but that's where we will leave things for now. Thank you so much for watching once again, and all the support. And until next time, have a great evening.